Hey, I am getting on today to tell you about my should vacation. It is something I've been meaning to get to tell you about for a while because it explains the whole thing with these chicks you've been seeing in my stories. And it's also a really useful thing to be thinking about at this time of year when there are so many traditions and so many rituals and so many obligations, even in the COVID times. There are so many things that we are expected to do and pressure we put on ourselves to keep up with every year, that this might be a good year. Given the COVID, you have the perfect excuse to really take an inventory on all of the shoulds in your life and consider which ones you want to get rid of. So this all started because I'm working with a coach named Diane, and I want to give her credit here because this was her idea to take a should vacation. I had been working with her, and by the way, I'm going to give you 3 takeaways at the end of this that were really poignant for me, and I think that you'll be able to use them right away in your life, even if you decide that a should vacation isn't what you want to do right now. You'll still be able to use these ideas and take them with you to maybe make this December different than the other Decembers in the past, something that you'll enjoy a lot more. So it started because I'm working with this coach, Diane, and she was asking me something, and I started sort of listing the things that I felt like I should be doing. And there were so many of them that she said, wait, get a piece of paper and start writing these down. And so I actually kept the piece of paper because it's ridiculous. This is my list of shoulds, and you don't even have to see all the individual things on here, but I will tell you there are things on there like I should moisturize more, and also I should accept my wrinkles, and I should go on lives more, and I should not care how I look. So there were all of these shoulds that were stupid like that, little things like that. But there were also big shoulds, like I should be creating a better experience for my clients, or I should be making a funnel, or I should be cleaning out the basement and getting rid of things. There were so many shoulds that were cluttering up my mind every day. These things are living in my brain and sort of nagging all the time. Even when I was doing some of the things that were on that list, I still had all the other shoulds like just kind of nattering away at me. So she suggested that I take a vacation, literally like a vacation week from all of these shoulds. And at first I was really resistant because I felt like if I wasn't on top of these things that, nothing would get done. But I agreed to do it, and I kept the things that I knew I needed to do. Like I still met with clients. I still took care of things that were important to me to take care of. But this list of shoulds, I was supposed to set aside. And I did for the most part. I did set aside the shoulds, but I ended up feeling guilty while I was doing it. And I came back to the next session and told her about this, that I had done it. I had not done my shoulds, but then it was becoming clear in our conversation that I was guilty and feeling bad that I wasn't doing these shoulds. And she pointed out the whole point of a should is that it makes you feel guilty. So you basically didn't do the assignment. And I went back the next week and gave it another shot. And this time I really concentrated on only doing things that I wanted to do, that had great energy behind them, that had momentum behind them. And I really took the time to notice if it was something I really wanted to do. And it was hard because, every once in a while I would get a flash of something that was an old should, but then over the week of really like putting that aside and just going where the energy was, just doing the things that I really was drawn to do, I started discovering pleasure. It was actually enjoyable to be doing the things that I wanted to do fully, not as a should, but just because I wanted to. And this is where the chicks come into it. It turns out that during this week of my should vacation, I wanted to work in my yard. I had been craving time outside. I already have some chickens, but I needed a new chicken coop. And so I got a new chicken coop and I built it. And I wanted garden beds. So I ordered the lumber and I made these garden beds myself. And the interesting thing here was that I was doing this, it had energy behind it. It was a creative process, but it wasn't always easy. It was actually hard some of the time. Using power tools, and I'm a pretty small person, I'm 5'3", using a big saw is a little scary to me, and it takes a lot of muscle, to do things, and it wasn't exactly easy. Lifting things and moving things and building things. And there were times when it didn't go right, a screw didn't go in right, and then I couldn't get it out, stupid things like that. But I still was doing something that I wanted to be doing. And so there was some momentum. There was this energy behind the project that I wouldn't have had if I were doing it from the context of a should. That was a huge takeaway. Realizing that when I am doing things that I really want to be doing, I'm productive, I can get through the hard things, and I'm enjoying them. There's pleasure even when it's not easy. So that was a huge, huge takeaway. So that has ended up being why I got new chicks that are in my office that you guys keep seeing in my little chick check videos and stories. And having this time to really pay attention to where the energy was for me and what I really wanted to be doing actually opened up some brain space for me to understand something that I had previously felt conflicted about. I always had felt previously that I couldn't be interested in my home and be a little urban farmer and share that on the internet with you guys and also be a legitimate coach. I felt that I needed to be one and really go in on being a coach and not talk about anything else. But the truth is that I'm this whole person. I'm somebody who feels safer during a pandemic growing food and having chickens. And I also really enjoy the satisfaction of that and the competency of knowing how to do that. Those are things that make me who I am. And I realized that I didn't want to give up parts of who I am. I didn't want to become this one-dimensional person. I feel vulnerable sharing all of who I am and sharing these parts of myself, but at the same time, I realize those are the people that I connect with on the internet, and those are the coaches that I'm drawn to. People who are full humans who have their interests, and it doesn't have to be that we share all the interests, but it helps me get to know who they are, helps you guys see who I am. If I share these things with you, my little chicks in my office, and my garden. I've shared some photos of the garden beds that I'm building, and I'll keep sharing photos. And I want to keep sharing more and more about who I am, because the thing that opened up in my brain about this is that those are the clients I want to work with. If you're somebody who wants to have a whole life, a life that's sort of aligned with all the things that you care about, all the things that make you who you are and what matters to you and gives you pleasure and a feeling of competency, I believe those are all important parts. I believe being a business person is not a one-dimensional thing, that that's our market differentiator, is actually being our whole selves and bringing that to our marketing and bringing that to our brand. You can still be a professional and have an urban farm, I think. I'm pretty sure. So that was my 3 takeaways that I'm going to share with you are, I made a few notes. One is that don't ignore your struggle. The struggle is a symptom, which reminds me of actually a book by Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. Great book, and I love his thinking, but really don't ignore the struggle. The struggle is a symptom that is wanting your attention, sort of like when you have a headache. It doesn't mean you have a Tylenol deficiency. It means that something else is wrong and needing your attention. Maybe you need more water. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you're tired. A headache is a symptom of something else. So pay attention to it. Your struggle, the places in your life where you feel a little stuck or a little resistance or a little misaligned, like I was feeling about sharing my gardening sort of tasks and obsession with having a garden and making food and having chickens. Sharing that felt conflicted, but that was a struggle that I needed to pay attention to in order to come to this other fuller understanding that that's actually important to me, and it's important to me with my clients. I want my clients to be fully expressed, have them lean into the things that they think are conflicts, lean into the things that are not aligned so we can really see what it is that comes together to make them fully who they are and fully who I am. So that's how I want to show up. So that was the number one takeaway is don't ignore the struggle. It's a symptom. It's giving you information to work with. It's something you need to look at, and it's valuable. It's a treasure trove of information about what you need in your life to feel more aligned and more fully expressed. The second takeaway is that when you're doing things that are not shoulds, that are wants, that you have energy behind it. There is something really powerful about being in a place where you're creating what you really want to create. There's momentum behind it. And that momentum is what carries you through difficulty. That's what carries you through physical pain or physical struggle when you're creating what you really want. And even the mundane tasks. If you're building a business that you really want and you're fully in, the things that you don't like doing, like maybe you have to build a website because you can't afford to hire somebody. Figuring that out isn't easy. But if it's a business that you really feel aligned with, this is fully what you want to be doing, that momentum will carry you through the mundane tasks that you don't want to have to do. So that was the second takeaway, that follow the momentum, use the energy that comes from doing what is a want, not a should. And the third takeaway is that your brain needs space. That these shoulds are like little clattering things in your head. And I know I'm an introvert, so this probably means a lot to me particularly, but I really do think whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, your brain needs a little bit of quiet, a little bit of downtime to do its job. Your brain's job is to synthesize things, to make sense of things. And if you aren't giving it the space to do that, you're missing out on some power, I think. That this is an asset that you have. And if you can give it the space to work, things will go so much more easily for you. Out of this week or 2 weeks of doing a should vacation, and actually incidentally, ever since then, I have been paying more attention to the shoulds in my life, and I catch myself sometimes, but I have shifted how I am thinking about things. When I'm making my to-do list, I make a could-do list, and then I pick the things that I really feel energy behind, the things that I really want to do, or the things that align with the bigger goals that feel like momentum could carry me through and do. Back to your brain. Your brain needs downtime. It needs space to give you new ideas. And I don't know how to explain it. Some science person probably can. But out of the blue, you will get flashes of insight. Out of the blue, something will occur to you, and given even more space, it will become more and more clear. For instance, it never occurred to me to make a product, but in this outdoor time, in this doing time where things were flowing and I was just doing what I wanted to do, I got this idea for a workbook, something that's different than anything that's out there. I am going to share this with you in another way because I really would like your input on this, and I'll be looking for people to test drive it and give me feedback on it. So send me a DM if you're interested in that. But I got an idea that I would never have come up with if I was trying to power through and think my way into a solution. I cannot tell you how much more easy it was to just do what I wanted to be doing outside, in my yard, or even inside in my house. I went through, drawers. I sorted through things. I cooked things. I did what I really wanted to be doing, and these ideas came to me in ways that were simple. It didn't feel overwhelming. It felt exciting. So now there's energy behind this thing, and I think that's the point, is that when you take a should vacation, the next thing shows, and the next thing shows, and the next thing shows, and that path toward what is pleasurable and what has momentum and what makes you feel competent and what makes you feel alive and fully expressed shows itself. Those shoulds are like roadblocks. They're like things that get you off course and you have to take a detour. When the shoulds are removed, it's smooth sailing. It is easier. And I'm not saying it's always easy. It's just easier because you are not getting in your own way. You're not letting those little nattering shoulds come at you and derail your progress. You're riding this wave of momentum because you're in what I call a creative process. You are creating something that you really want, and the next thing shows, and the next thing shows, and the next thing shows. So that's my should vacation. I'm gonna look really quick. I got a little hi. Hi, Allie. Nice to see you. I'm terrible at looking at the comments on these things, so please feel free to reach out in a DM or I don't know how else, like on a comment, and I would love to connect. But I just wanted to share that with you, that this is about being fully expressed. It's about being a whole person. Your should vacation could be the beginning of a really big thing for you. So that's what I wish for you. Good luck. Bye.